Hey guys, MetalJesus here. Now you guys know that I love collecting handheld game consoles. The problem being is that the handhelds from, say, the late 80s and the early 90s is that the screen technology is often kind of lacking by today's standards. Often they're not backlit, and if they are, they're very blurry. And so it's been one of my goals for my game collection is to try to get as many of those old handhelds upgraded with new technology, new screens, and also maybe lithium-ion batteries. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I'm getting 2 steps closer to that with a modded Game Boy Color and also the Sega Nomad. Let's take a look. I'm going to start by taking a look at the Game Boy Color, which is a handheld that I like quite a bit. It's a nice upgrade from the original Game Boy in its form factor. I like how it's a little bit slimmer. It has the little bump on the back. I like all the different colors, but its one Achilles heel is that the screen is non-backlit. So it's pretty much impossible to play today unless you just have the perfect type of lighting. And so getting this with a backlit screen mod was something that I've always wanted. Many of you might be familiar with a guy named Marco who goes by the name McWill. Now he has been making high quality screen replacements for both the Atari Lynx and also the Sega Game Gear. And you see the Lynx here, and it completely changes how you play these handhelds. It's amazing. He has brought his technical know-how to the Game Boy Color by releasing an LCD upgrade kit that you see here, and it costs about $75. He sent me a review unit to check out, and I was really excited to do so because, like I mentioned, he completely changes the game when it comes to the Atari Lynx and the Game Gear. Here's the unit that he sent me, and as you can see, it looks like a normal Game Boy Color. There's no bulging or anything weird going on here. Now, he did mention that there is an optional video out that actually is built onto the printed circuit board itself. So if you want to, you can actually do video out, which is a really cool feature. However, this one does not have that. And as a little refresher, in case you don't remember what the original Game Boy Color screen looks like, well, here it is. And again, back in the day, yeah, this made perfect sense. I mean, it's not great. You kind of have to have the perfect lighting kind of over your shoulder to see anything, but it was, you know, probably the best that Nintendo could do given battery life and also screen technology. And then here is the McWill screen, and as you can see, well, it's night and day. I mean, it completely changes it and makes it just awesome. So let's go ahead and check out some Game Boy Color games. I just picked out a few from my collection here that are some of my favorites, but also I think will probably show off the screen fairly well. The first one we're going to check out here is Spider-Man 2, and as you can see, there is no blurring going on. The pixels are really sharp. And by the way, I do need to mention that I'm capturing this with my 4K camcorder, which in 4K mode only captures at 29.97 frames. So just be aware that actually the frame rate is higher in person, but you have this whole camera and YouTube compression thing going on. So just be aware. Here is Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons, and I picked this because, well, it has that great opening, and as you can see on the screen, it just really pops. It looks super sharp, very colorful. It just looks, it looks amazing. And of course we have to check out some Mario games, and this is Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, which of course is a remake of the original NES classic. You guys know me and I like to show some hidden gems, some games that not everyone talks about, and this is Project S11. Definitely a really cool top-down shooter. So it doesn't seem like there's a lot of these on the Game Boy Color, and this is a fun one. Here's another game that I often come back to on the Game Boy Color, and it is Motocross Maniacs 2. It's a sequel to an original Game Boy game, and As you can see here, it is a motorcycle trials kind of game, very similar to, say, Excitebike, but with just enough twist to the gameplay to make it unique and super fun. Another game I wanted to show because it's got a pretty cool animated intro is Scooby-Doo Classic Creep Capers. This is kind of an old school adventure game, but on the Game Boy Color that not a lot of people talk about, which is a shame because this is actually a pretty decent game. And I grew up watching Scooby-Doo, so this game and this style of game has definitely some nostalgia for me. Here is Mickey Speedway USA. Now I think most people, myself included, played this on the N64 where it played more like a Mario Kart or Diddy Kong racing game where the camera is behind the player. But as you can see here, this one is more top-down and it plays very similar to RC Pro-Am. It's a Nintendo handheld, and so you gotta have some Tetris on there. I was trying to figure out the other day just how many times I have bought Tetris over the years. I think I have Tetris on pretty much every system ever made. I mean, I even have the original DOS version. It's crazy, but it's such a great game. You can play it forever. I know some of you are wondering how original Game Boy games look running on this, and as you can see here, they look fantastic, as well as you still have the ability to change the color palette when you first turn it on. So if you want Super Mario Land 2 to look more yellow, or say blue, or green, or any other combination, you can do that, which is a really cool feature. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the Sega Genesis Nomad. This handheld is so cool and so ahead of its time. Think of this as a portable Sega Genesis, so it takes actual cartridges, but it does more than that. It also allows you to plug in your own external controller and you can output it to a TV. However, back in 1995 when this was released, screen technology wasn't that great, especially for a handheld. So the original version of this, it had a decent screen for the time, but it was very blurry and it also just chewed through batteries. So this one here was sent to me by a fan of my channel, a guy named Wes, who very graciously offered to upgrade this and pretty much solve most of the problems that people complain about. So this has a brand new LCD installed in there, as well as a lithium ion battery. So the battery in this is actually a 3000 milliamp battery, which basically gives you about 4 hours of gameplay. Now what he decided to do is kind of interesting. He basically went on Amazon looking for backup cameras that you would install in your car. These are often $20 or less, and then he replaced the one in the Nomad with that. So he was telling me it was actually fairly easy to do. It's just a couple solder points and you're good to go. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at some games running on this, and the first one here is called Crossfire. Now, this is a really interesting history because this was meant to be a licensed game based on the Airwolf TV show, but I guess they lost the license and decided to just release it as their own under the name Crossfire. Here's the RPG game Phantasy Star 3, and here's where I start to see where maybe this LCD screen is not at the same quality as, say, something that McWill would create. Specifically with the text, it's just not as sharp, specifically the pixels. It's kind of hard to describe, but basically it looks like there's a little bit of bleed over or maybe some artifacting going on. I did some research, and the original screen of the Nomad actually had a screen resolution of 320 by 224, and this LCD that he put in here is a little bit higher resolution. It's actually at 480 by 234. And I think maybe, if I was to guess, it's just doing a little bit of upscaling or some sort of, you know, voodoo magic behind the screen where maybe it's just not perfect. But keep in mind, this was a $20 upgrade, so that's pretty amazing when you think about it. And I have to say, having a lithium ion battery in this is a game changer. I think every retro console like this should have an option to put a lithium ion battery in there because, you know, nowadays it just makes sense. I mean, we shouldn't have to go to the store buying dozens and dozens of AA batteries, you know? It's ridiculous. So having this in there is just so awesome. Let's go ahead and check out a couple more games running on the Nomad. This is Sonic 2. And I want to mention that a couple months ago, I did a video where I compared the Nintendo Switch to the Sony PSP Go and how the PSP Go really did that hybrid console long before the Switch. But a lot of you pointed out, and it's absolutely true, that as you can see here, Sega did that even earlier. The Nomad was way ahead of its time, being able to play the same cartridges that your Genesis could, but then outputting to your TV and using physical controllers. So definitely a cool handheld to have, especially with the screen updated so that it's not as blurry. Feels a little bit more modern, a little bit more useful, as well as that lithium-ion battery. It's such a cool system. So that's a quick look at the mods that you can do for the Game Boy Color and also the Sega Nomad. If you'd like to learn more, I'll put links down in the video description below. But next, I would like to get a screen mod and update for the Neo Geo Pocket Color. I absolutely love this handheld. It's got great controls and amazing games for it, but it's not backlit. It's so frustrating to play this today. So it really needs a screen update. Now, I did a little bit of research, but I don't think it's actually possible. I don't know, I could be wrong. If I am, please let me know down in the comments below. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and take care. At the end here, I want to do another huge shout out and thank you to both Wes and also Marco, AKA McWill, for sending me these awesome modded handhelds. I love seeing people who take their knowledge of soldering and electronics and basically take what were flaws in old pieces of hardware and bringing them up to modern standards and just improving them. And I don't know, I just think it improves the gameplay experience in every way. And both of these are going to be a permanent fixture in my game collection. So thank you so much, guys. I really, really appreciate it. All right, guys, have a great day.